Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Monday to everyone. How's everyone doing today? How are you guys doing today, man? I hope it's a great day wherever you are. This is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas, with this inspirational morning walk for first-time listeners to just get some exercise in the mornings, and I share my thoughts with you guys, whatever I'm inspired to talk about that day. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Houston, man. It's a beautiful, nice, sunny day. But I can sit in the vehicle today and get this word out. Then I can go and do some walking. Yes, when I have more than one page, it's a little easy for me to sit in here to get the word out. You need no distractions, none to distract me, man. So, but yes, it's a great, great day. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend and ready for this week, man. And ready for this week. But what I'm going to do today, remember last week, on Friday we did, and I was kind of breaking down some of these abominations that God talked about in Deuteronomy. Good morning, Jillian. Good morning, Jillian. Yes, so we were talking and breaking down some of these abominations that God talked about in Deuteronomy 18:10 through 12. I can read it out, and then we're gonna I'm going to tell you which one we're talking about today. It says, "They shall not be found among you anyone who had made his son or his daughter to pass through the fire." We can take that one on a different day. What that mean in today's time, or that use a divination. That's what we did on Friday. We talk about divination on Friday, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. We can take on familiar spirits today. I can explain what familiar spirits are and why God's so upset and telling you this is abomination. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all those who does these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord thy God will drive them out before thee. So these are some of the abomination. Abomination, I look up the word, right? It's a thing that causes disgust or hatred. You can look it up and see the noun is a thing that causes disgust or hatred. So God's saying, this is disgusting to me. I hate this stuff. We said little sin and big sin. This is some of the things where God's saying, look, I hate this stuff. I disgust it. You do this stuff, it's going to be some problems, right? Don't do these things, because in Deuteronomy 18:9 through 18:9, he was telling them, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of these nations. These are the abominations here we just talked about, right? He said, don't learn to do after these abominations, because it's the same reason why I'm driving them out and giving you their land, because of these abominations that they did, right? So today we can look at familiar spirits, and why this come under this category of an abomination. And God said, don't seek no one that deal with familiar spirits, right? So first of all, let's try and get an understanding what a familiar spirit is. A familiar spirit is a dictionary definition. A familiar spirit is a demon. It is defined as a spirit or demon that serves or prompts an individual. From the Webster, right? Demons serve or prompt people to do evil and to go against the commands of God. Right there you can see from the dictionary definition why God so hated them, because he prompting them to do evil and to go against the commands of God. There are several references in the Bible of familiar spirits, and they're all in bad sense, right? So we're going to go through some of those references with the talk in there. So a familiar spirit is one who uses witches and wizards. And every time you see it, you can Google scriptures on familiar spirits, and you're going to see I always mention, but familiar spirits and wizards, they always come because, like I told you guys the last time, these false prophets, these witches, wizards, all of these people who doing this iniquity, or we say obio, it's a familiar spirits is aiding them. It's a familiar spirits giving them the information. Those people got familiar spirits at the disposal, and they can send it to retrieve information for them. Or people put their hand to that kind of stuff, and when they go to these altars and to do their stuff, they're attaching familiar spirits to family, or you might hear it mentioned as monitoring spirits also. They monitor you to get information. There's the information that's feeding these people to make they look like they're performing so much of magics and they know some more stuff about you and all of that, right? Sometimes you might see a cat. You come home, every time you see this black cat or some cat always on your property and they're watching you. If you're driving, you're blowing your horn to get them out of the way. You're kicking them and then just watching you and walking away slowly. All those familiars that can come in animals and then birds always around your property alone and all that, right? So these are all these familiar spirits. These are the things that aid the witches, the wizards, the false prophets, and give them the information. When I tell you about the spirit of divination, they all work together. The spirit of divination, a person who's possessed with the spirit of divination, he's being fed his information by these familiar spirits. And the term familiar they're familiar with your operation. They're familiar to that false prophet, and they're familiar with what goes on with you. All those people, when we come to necromancy, we're going to explain that too. And those are all those people who, when you're dreaming about your dead relatives and your dead, all of that is familiar spirits. It's spirits that are familiar with your relationship with that person and know everything about you and that person. God, they was monitoring you. They were assigned to you. So to have this information. So when you dreaming about your dead relatives, it's actually a spirit that's familiar with. That's why they can tell you things and convince you, because they're familiar with your situation. It's like, I know you, like sometimes some kids, now that you all grown, you and somebody went to school together, and now they got children, and the children don't know anything about you. The children don't know anything about you. Well, you know all about them, and you know everything going on in their life, because you and the parents still communicating, but they never see you. Y'all might live in a different country, but y'all still got. So when you meet the child, say, hey man, oh, you're Sean. Hey man, I know your mother way back. I know this about you. How was your graduation? Whether just like, why you know all of this about me? Like, who are you? Why you know all of this about my mother, my father, where I went to school, how much subjects I took, where I work? You know all this information about me, right? It's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing how these familiar spirits, well, they have this information on you, and they can tell a wizard, they can tell a false prophet this information, and you're like, whoa, how they know this, man? How they know all this thing about me, right? So that's why God's saying it. And then they can give you a little bit of truth to draw you in. And then that's when they can start putting all these curses on you. So we can go down with some scriptures and see what they're saying. So that's why here, this is the principle they work off for. Remember, the enemy is just a copycat. He's just a copycat because he knows how the kingdom of God set up. Remember, Lucifer himself was up there, and the only thing God didn't tell him is how to make man, right? So he knew all these laws, he know these stuff operate. So he just duplicate these stuff in his kingdom, right? But he's not to get credit for none of it, because he just taking God more so, and he duplicating these things. So this is the principle he's working after. So in a nutshell, a familiar spirit is what an angel is to God's kingdom, as a familiar spirit to the devil's kingdom. Just what an angel is to the God's kingdom, the familiar spirit. So this is the principle he's working out for here, right? Look, Psalms 91, verse 11. We can read 11 and 12. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways, that even if you dash your foot against a stone, you know there's a familiar one, right? So God said, I can give my angels charge over you, man, to watch over you, to be with you. If you dash your foot against a stone, they can be there to protect you, right? This one, the principle you're working after. So he got his own demonic demons monitoring you and around you, because this is a principle how we can do it. Because these are principles. So he using these same principles. Oh, God have his angels protecting us. He have his people retrieving information and watching over us to use information for evil means, right? The next one in Luke 4:10. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you to guard you carefully, right? God command his angels to be around us, to guard us, right? Psalms 34:7, the angel of the Lord encamp around those who fear him, and he delivers them. So God saying, you believe in me, I'm going to have angels out there protecting you. The devil telling his witches, his wizards, his warlock, all that, you believe in me, and I'm going to give to your disposal these familiar spirits that you can send and retrieve information from anybody you want. And the higher you go in the demonic world, is more of these familiar spirits you're going to have at your disposal that you can so-called use. Sometimes they might refer to them as slave spirits that you can use to get information from people and retrieve information from other familiar spirits and make you look like you're so powerful and you got all of this, you can perform all this magic and you got all this information and wowing people and buying them in. But the bad part what God is saying, let's go down to some scripture and you see what he's saying, right? So let's look at Leviticus 19:31 and see what it's saying. Leviticus 19:31. He said, regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. So he's saying, don't seek after no one who dealing in these familiar spirits, because they're all evil forces. That's why he's so upset and he's telling you this is one of the abominations. Don't be seeking after no one. Don't be going to no fortune tellers. Don't be going to be careful about false prophets. Don't be going witches, no wizards. None of these people who put in their hands to the iniquity, because they're all dealing in these familiar spirits. Right? So he's saying, don't go after them. Regard them not. Be familiar spirits. Seek after wizards to be defiled by them. What the defile means that you changing your original destiny when you go and mess with these people. You're changing original destiny. The defile is like if you got a glass of white milk, right? You got a glass of white milk. Or the people who cooking and you got your base, like, you know, my sister Jillian, you make your cakes and you got that white icing base and you want a different color, right? You throw whatever color in it, right, to get that color. It's like that. Our original destiny is like when you go mess with, like you throwing the food color in or you throwing some chocolate syrup in the white milk and changing its color. That's what we're doing. Are we changing the original plan what God had for us? And now the enemy can set his course for us now. When we gonna mess and put our hands to that. Now he gonna set his course for our life. Now we under his plan and not the plan what God say he have for us. In Jeremiah 29, he say, you know, the plan he have for us. No, that plan ain't happening no more. When you gonna put your hand there, you change, you know, you say you'll be defiled by them. Your original destiny is being changed. Let's see what Isaiah 8:19 say. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards. You see, this always come in, familiar spirits, and wizards always fall, because wizard is the male and witch is the female. Let me read again. And when they say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep, and they shall mutter, should not a people seek unto their God for the living to the dead? So he's saying, so this Isaiah saying, people gonna come unto you, girl, this is what's going on in your life. Go and get to read. Go to the psychic. Go, I know this person here who do this, and they're gonna tell you this, and they're gonna give you a read, and they're gonna protect you. He's saying, man, you shouldn't, when they say that unto you, he's saying, should not people seek their God? You should go to God for that kind of stuff, and not to these people who deal in these familiar spirits. He said, don't go to God. Don't go to these people. So no one tell you, but go and get this little, you know, no. He said, you go to God, man. This is what people should be going to, their God. Not to these people who dealing in familiar spirits, right? Leviticus 26, he said, and the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards, you see, who coming after the familiar spirits all the time, and after wizards, to go a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. So he's saying, you go and you mess with these people that have familiar spirits, these wizard, warlock, these what they call them, this the spiritists, all of these people who read in the palms, all these people who trying to tell the fortune. He said, you go after them, I can cut you off. I can set my face against that soul. You ain't gonna hear nothing from me. And I'm going to Saul's story, maybe next one, and see how that play out. How God cut his communication off from him, right? He said, you go a whoring after them. You know the word, whoring. You running after them. Rather than coming after me, I can turn my face against you. I'm going to set my face against you. So when you go and you mix up with these people and all, and then you're praying to God, because a lot of Christians do it. They're in to get some sickness, something happening in their life. They're praying and look like nothing is moving, and then they're gone to these people to seek solutions. And then he said, I'm going to turn my face from you. I'm going to turn my face from you, right? Let's see what Leviticus 20:27 say. A man also, or a woman that had a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard. You see a wizard coming after this familiar spirit all the time? A man also, or a woman that has a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. So you might say, this is cruel. God talking about killing people, and this was confused a lot of people. Why God promoting but killing people there? But he's saying, man, look, why I'm telling you do not do this, and why this is so serious, and why this is an abomination for me. These people are destiny changers. He said you're going to be defiled by them. They're changing your destiny, right? So a lot of people you see on the streets eating out the trash can, defecating on themselves, they are people who change those people's destiny. You don't know. Some of these people were supposed to be certain great stuff in life. Some of them probably have the solutions for some of the problems that we are facing right now, but they put their hand to that, or some wicked person casts spells on them who have these familiar spirits and change their destiny. This is why God's saying this stuff is so serious, and I'm against it. And if you do it, I'm going to cut you off, because these people are destiny changers. They change your original destiny, right? These way you're defiled by them. Just an example what I use. The milk is white. You throw chocolate syrup, you throw some strawberry syrup. Whatever you put in there, it's going to take on that color. So that's what. So if they ever spell they cast on you to go and would do whatever, that white milk was your original destiny. Now, if they throw a pink stuff in there, you go in, you turn pink. If they throw a black food dye or what do you turn black? If they throw chocolate syrup in there, you turn chocolate. So your original destiny's changed. So God saying this stuff is serious. That's why He take it so serious. Do not mess with them. They're going to change your destiny. And look how it is. Let's say a man walk in the street because somebody cast a spell on them. They wanted, and he walked the streets. Let's say he got to live for 70 years. And he out there walking the street for 20 years now. Let's say this stuff happened to him when he was 20. And he out there now, he's about 50. He probably got a little 20 years more left for him to live. Now, let's say someone recognized that. That's what Paul is saying. Don't look at what you're seeing in front of you. Don't look at the man and say he's mad and his mental health being thrown around a lot these days casually. Mental health, mental health, mental health. Don't look at what you're seeing in front of you. Look at what pulling the strings. God didn't make no one to be eating out to the trash can. He didn't make no one to be doing the stuff like what some people are doing. He didn't make them, right? To do that, man. Right? So, let's say 30 years the man walked the street and then someone recognized it and he get his deliverance. Just like, well, okay. I'm glad I mentioned that because remember the story in India I just saw. You remember this whole thing about these, you know, the coronavirus ravaging India right now. And a lot of the Hindus and stuff get frustrated and throw out the gods all these images would have had because they said they're praying to these gods and nothing ain't happening. And they get so upset and they throw out all of these, the canals and you see how they're throwing them out in big heaps. And a pastor said he was praying. He went to the big city and God sent him back to his village years ago, and he went back there preaching the word, and so now he get a big breakthrough due to this. And one of the women in his who is a big now, who's holding her own sessions and changing a whole lot of lives and leading a lot of his stuff, was a woman who was walking that streets naked for years. She was, I saw it on the news the other day. She was walking that village, and everybody says she's mad. You know, we got this, they're mad, this. And she was walking naked in that village for years. And now when she got her deliverance, this man come and she got her deliverance, she is now leading a lot of prayer groups in that same community. That same community, she's now leading a lot of prayer groups. This is just stuff that just saw due to this whole coronavirus stuff in India there. She was walking around the streets naked for years. Everybody laughing, everybody counted her out. Now she's leading and turning a lot of those same people that was laughing at her to Christ. That's what I'm telling you. But how much years of her life was lost? That's what God's saying. This stuff is serious. I got a lot of work for people to do. And because this destiny get changed, a lot of people, because, for example, that woman probably was supposed to doing what she doing a long time ago. And so a lot of lives go off track because they were waiting on her to bring them to God. And they never get their salvation because what was happening to her. Somebody changed her destiny. Her destiny was changed. So that's why God said this is serious. It's not about that person. That one person probably responsible for bringing thousands of people to the kingdom. So and that's what the enemy know. So if I can change this one person's destiny, I'm messing up the thousands that they were supposed to bring to the kingdom, because they have thousands waiting on this connection right here. They're waiting on this man who walking the street right now. And once I can keep him walking on the streets, eating out of those trash cans and messing up on himself and all of that, and people saying he's crazy, those thousands who are waiting on him, not going to reach the destiny. That's why God's so mad with it. That's why he always say that's an abomination. Right? So let's look at one more here quick. Let's look at one more here. Let's look at Chronicles 10:13. Chronicles 10:13. So Saul, you remember King Saul? I'm gonna think I can deal with him because he is two of these stuff. His story. He talked about his necromancy and about divination and about the familiar spirit. So I think I can deal with his story and explain that the next session. So Saul died for his transgression which he committed against the Lord, even against the word of the Lord, which he kept not. You know, Saul totally is not following the word of God, which he kept not. And also for asking counsel of one that had a familiar spirit to inquire of it. Let me read that again. So Saul died. He died for his transgression, which he committed against the Lord, even against the word of the Lord, which he kept not. And also he died because he didn't keep the word of the Lord. And also for asking counsel for one that had a familiar spirit to inquire of it. We're going to take on Saul's story on Wednesday. But guys, this is an abomination. This is what familiar spirit is. They who retrieving this information and making these witches and warlocks and false prophets and all that look good because they got this information on you. And they have assigned to them X amount of familiar spirits that they can send out to seek information from them. Right, guys? This is in your Bible, guys. And I ain't making nothing up. You go and do your own research now that I tell you about this stuff. Do your own research, right? All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. No, went on a little long today, but sometimes I got to, bring out the information. When the Spirit tell me I'm done, that's when I'm done. If you don't think I get the point, that's why I keep going, right? But I can finish here right today. I think I'll get it out. All right, you guys have a great day, and then we'll talk again on